Why wake up when the world sleeps? Every single day. Why train alone? Why do the same thing? Again and again. Lap after lap. Day in, day out. Why jump? Why glide? Why slide? Why fall? Why get back up? Why lose? Why win? Why do it? Because if it gets your heart racing, it's worth doing. TVS Racing, engineering goosebumps since 1982.
My daddy is my best friend. He plays with me all the time. But a while back, he couldn't play with me at all. He was sick. Mama told me, "Don't worry baby, Papa is being cared by the best doctors." Doctor uncle was very sweet. He told me that he was going to give a bigger space in my Papa's heart to love me. The nurses over there made Papa smile all the time. One day, they took Papa to a room. Like in Ben 10, there were very big machines. Mama said that Papa will be back home very soon. And in 2 days, Papa was alright. I love you, Daddy.
Some things in life are beyond value. Love, care, and your heart. Apollo Hospitals. Because your heart is priceless.
Hi everyone, I welcome all of you to Festember 2021's Vox Populi guest lecture powered by TVS Motors. Vox Populi aims to bring down unsung heroes and showcase their inspiring stories through our platform. Their inspiring tales are for sure to leave a mark and motivate all of us to strive and make an impression. I'm Harshita S. Nair, and I'll be your host for today. This edition of Festember is very special and very close to our hearts because Festember has partnered with Give India Foundation. Give India is a non-profit organization that aims to raise funds for COVID Relief Fund through its online donation platform. And we at Festember aim to raise funds for Give India's COVID Relief Fund. And the link for the same is in the description as well as in the comment section of the video. So do visit the link and contribute whatever little you can. So that's going to make a huge difference in someone's life. I would also like to thank our entertainment partner, Radio Mirchi, and our online listing partner, Know a Fest. Also, please do visit the feedback link in the description and in the comment section, and do fill in your valuable feedbacks. So that will help us improve ourselves and provide you with a better experience every time. With that said, let's jump into today's interview. Our guest for today is Dr. Yamuna Sangarasivam. She is a professor of anthropology, an eminent dancer, a classical vocalist, a classical pianist, you name it, she's done it all. And for us, she is that girl who has appeared with the king of pop, Mr. Michael Jackson, in his famous video, Black or White, where she showcased an Odissi dance piece. Welcome to you, ma'am. We are extremely honored and pleased to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Harshita. I'm so honored to join you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's our pleasure. So, shall we start the interview, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So my first question to you is, you're currently working as a professor in anthropology. You have a PhD in anthropology. So how is the transition from performing arts of dance and music? So how come you're doing anthropology now?
So that's a wonderful and meaningful question. A lot of times we think that there is a disconnect between academics, the performing arts, and the humanities and social sciences. But in fact, there are a lot of connections. So as you've described in your wonderful introduction, I began learning and studying Bharatanatyam, classical dance, and carnatic music, and classical Western piano at a very early age, around 5 and 6. And studied all throughout my secondary education. And then once I came to university, I discovered the fields of musicology and ethnomusicology and the anthropology of dance, or dance ethnology. So I studied with extraordinary scholars, Susan McClary, who is a leading feminist musicologist, that opened the door for me to women and gender studies, feminist theories and methodologies, and came to a realization and an understanding that musicology is the study of how music informs our meaning-making processes in the world, and vice versa, how we make meaning in our world through music. A very brief definition of musicology that shrinks a lot of information. But that being said, similarly with dance and all of the visual and performing arts, that we as creative beings, we are constantly trying to make meaning through a variety of fields, including medicine or engineering, or in the humanities and in the social sciences. So there is a link. The connection is that all along I'm studying anthropology, how we make meaning through the arts. And so it was actually quite a seamless movement from performance into the study of anthropology. And certainly women and gender studies, with the role of women in the arts as creators, performers, composers, as artists. So and I think that when as artists, we never stop being artists. So I continue to teach, and in anthropology, I teach a course on the anthropology of dance that incorporates feminist methodologies and theories. And in that, I invite students to engage in movement exercises and practices where students feel the connection between mind and body, so that we understand that knowledge is not just produced in our mind, but through our embodiment of meaning making. So I continue to play piano. When I have an opportunity to collaborate in ensembles, I take up that opportunity. I've collaborated with students in my classes who are musicians. So I think that we always maintain our artistic and creative practices.
Yes, ma'am. That's such a wonderful explanation. It made it very easy for laymen like us to understand. Because, just by looking at it, anthropology and performing arts look so different. But once you explained, I could understand they go hand in hand. One would not exist without another one. So it's very beautifully explained, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. Next question would be, when you appeared for the audition of Mr. Michael Jackson's video, what were the thoughts in your mind? And did you expect such a stiff competition? About 3,000 people appeared back in 1991. So, and how did you feel when you finally received that, that call to be on screen with him? So how was that feeling?
Yes. Oh, well, again, that feeling is just, incomparable. It's just, I was bouncing off the walls and just so excited. And so how did at the time, when I went for the audition, they had broken up the auditions through with different groups. And the time that I went in, I was with groups of what they categorized as Asian dances. So that was an extraordinary experience because going into waiting, for my turn to come up to perform, I got a chance to meet so many different artists from all these different communities, from Vietnamese communities and Cambodian communities and Chinese communities. So all of us Asians, and this is the strange phenomenon of racialized categorizations, right? So we're all described as Asian. So all the Asian dances came, and so that was really fun to see the different performance practices of all these different heritages and communities. But the way that the audition came to me was that I was a student at UCLA at the time, studying the anthropology of dance at the Department of Dance at UCLA, and there are constantly auditions or call for auditions that come through to UCLA, especially in the departments of the performing arts. And faculty, it was common for faculty and students to be moonlighting on Hollywood projects, being in LA, where Hollywood has its tentacles in practically every aspect of LA society. So the call for auditions came, and to be honest, I didn't think that there was a role for me, and so a group of friends is like, hey Yamuna, we're all going to go, and there's this call for auditions for a Michael Jackson video. You should come with us. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't know. I don't think so, because ours is it's a classical tradition. We have our music. It's a classical heritage. I'm not sure how this is going to fit into to a Michael Jackson video. So I came home that evening and I was talking to my parents, and I said, Amma, I said, Daddy, I don't know. And Amma said, Chellam, darling, you absolutely should go for this audition. It would be a great opportunity, for an ethnographic study. So ethnography is a research methodology of anthropologists, and where you enter into a community and you learn and you experience, and from the community and that setting, the culture, from that cultural milieu. And I said, Amma, of course. And that's how I ended up going to the audition. And at the audition, Michael Jackson was not there. The choreographers and all the other production people were there. they recorded our performance, they recorded an interview, and then a week or so later they informed. And I was working for a sociology professor at the time, and so I picked up the phone, and they said, "This is the Michael Jackson production company. We'd like to offer you a position, and a role in the video, and it's a very special role because the choreographers and Michael Jackson want to perform a duet with you," which was just amazing. So that was just an extraordinary. And of course, I said yes. They wanted to know whether I had an agent, and I'm like, no, but I'll definitely find one. So and then we went on to the production of it. And I mean, I was just, like I said, as soon as I put down the phone, I just screamed and just jumping off the walls, and of course immediately called my parents, and so it was very exciting.
Yes, ma'am. So now let's have a fun segment, ma'am. We've planned a spontaneous fun segment kind of thing.
Yes.
So this is like a game. We'll display a PPT to you, and it has numbers displayed from 1 to 10, and you'll have to pick a number. Okay. So after you pick a number, the corresponding question would be shown, and the audio would be played. So, and I also have some clues for you to make it easier for you. So yes, ma'am. So can you pick a number?
5.
Can you guess the instrument, ma'am?
It's a sitar.
Absolutely right. Yes, ma'am. So can we pick another number?
Okay. 8.
Okay.
So that's Scotland.
That's amazing, ma'am. Okay, so next number.
3. So that's a guitar.
Very much, yeah. It's a guitar. Yeah, next number.
9. Spain.
It's correct, ma'am. Yeah. Next number.
6. That's a challenging one. Because there's a I think that's a lot of well, there's a lot of transnational sounds in there. So it could be India, it could be Trinidad, it could be Nigeria. So I don't know. It could be a number of. It could be all of the above. I'm not sure. Brazil, yes, wonderful.
Okay, ma'am. So the last number.
Let's see. What numbers I've chosen? A 1. That's oh shoot! I just had the instrument. Accordion.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Yes, ma'am. So we'll go for one more.
Okay. 2. That's a banjo.
That's right. That's right, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, it's so much fun. So can we just finish the full fun segment, like the full 10 questions?
Sure.
Okay. So can you pick the next number, ma'am?
I think we've done everything except 7.
Yes, ma'am. 7 and 4 and
7,
10.
7, 4, and 10. Sure, we'll do 4. That's violin.
Absolutely, ma'am.
7. Let's see. Oh gosh, that's such a familiar tune. Is it Greece or Poland?
I'll give you a clue, ma'am.
Okay, clue.
This is the birthplace of pizzas and pastas.
I'm sorry?
It's the birthplace of pizzas and pastas.
Oh, it's Italy, of course.
Yes. I know my clues are bad.
That's an excellent clue. And then 10, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. 10 is the last one.
France?
Absolutely, ma'am. So that was really fun, ma'am. I hope you liked it as well.
Yes, that was quite fun.
Thank you, ma'am.
Winning is about finding the perfect racing line with your eyes closed. Making split-second decisions based on instinct. TVS Apache RR310 with ride modes and Smart Connect. Crafted to overcome, crafted to outperform.
So we'll move back into our interview.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. So as you're talking about you getting that wonderful spot to be there on Michael Jackson's video. So how was the day of the shoot?
So this is really interesting because there were two sessions of filming and recording. So the original conceptualization was to have all of us at the studio, filming at the studio. So all of the dancers that were selected for the project, we all arrived at the studio. And so we were able to see each other's, performance for the most part. So originally I was recorded in the studio where you see the Javanese dances or the Thai dances performing. As well as where you saw the African dancers performing. And then, a week or so later, they called back and informed us that they wanted to shoot on location, and they wanted to shoot it on a highway. And so my mom was with me at the time, and they organized for a transportation to come and pick us up. It was a Mercedes, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And so they came and picked up Amma and I, and we traveled to this segment of highway. I'm not remembering exactly where, but as we were approaching, in the other side of the highway, the opposing traffic, there was this backup of traffic. And then we finally realized, well, it's because the Michael Jackson production company had blocked off this segment of highway and had to redirect all this traffic. So sadly, sorry to the inconvenience to all those drivers at the time. But so we arrived on set, and we got our own trailer to, get ready with makeup and costume. And, it's the desert, so it gets cold. It gets pretty cool at night. So we probably started shooting, filming at around 8 o'clock. I've, finished my classes and then came home, and, by the time we got there, and then, once, after we, getting dressed, once we started filming, so we filmed all through the night. And it was really, such a wonderful learning experience. We had our own director's chairs right next to Michael's. Amma was there, and he was so gracious, just such a warm, kind, interesting and interested, down to earth, really humble, sweet person. He took such good care of Amma. He asked her, it's getting cold, and he went to his trailer and collected a blanket and, put it around Amma's shoulders, and was, always talking with her. And there were times, so, it was a 3-lane traffic, and they had stunt drivers. So that was live traffic that was flowing in front of us and behind us. So in 3 lanes, Michael and I were dancing in the center lane, and on the lane behind us and in front of us, there were traffic. So all the, these stunt drivers were driving, like semi trucks and, all kinds of different, vehicles. And, I'd be so excited, and I'd be, sort of carried away in the performance that I kind of lost track of my spacing, and Amma was getting worried that I'd be, I'm going to get run over by traffic. So Amma would say, Michael, you have to take care of Yamuna because she's not paying attention to, so he would say, yes, Amma, of course, we'll, I'll make sure that, she's safe and things like that. So, he was so, attentive and really interested, even when we were in the studio rehearsing, when we first met, he wanted to know the history of the dance and its connection to spirituality and the mythology and the cosmologies that are being represented in the movement, and like what all the mudras meant, and how I came to learn and study Odissi. So he wanted to learn about me as a person, and recognize me as as an interesting person that he wanted to meet. Not just someone who, who's been hired for this project. And he didn't, a lot of times I think that, and I saw it in some instances while I was involved in this project where, people who were in positions of power would, treat performers or like the catering staff, pretty, in a really mean-spirited way, like, that you're almost dehumanized. And I think that's one of the dangers of I think, in any industry, really, once, people assume a certain position of power and authority, that you forget from where you came. And then unfortunately, people get mistreated, but not so with Michael Jackson. With each artist and performers that showed up for his project, he was so respectful and really wanted to get to know each and every person and introduce himself and talk to people and, get to know them and, recognize them as, as talented artists that have come to join him in this project. So, that was really memorable. So, he's such an extraordinary icon of the 20th century, really, and into the 21st century. Just an extraordinary icon. An example of that, I was on a archaeological excavation project in Nevis, the West Indies, in the summer that he passed on, or I say left the planet. I don't use the D word. I say we leave the planet. So, and when he, when the announcement came in Nevis, I mean, the radio stations just, it was a commemoration. It was like 24 hours of, the Jackson 5 and Michael Jackson's music. And, some of the American students that were there on that project, we happened to be, it was towards the end of the project, and we were getting ready to leave, and we were traveling about the town, and one of the guys said, and he was a white guy, and he said, I don't know what the big deal is about Michael Jackson. Why are they playing his music like around the clock like this and making such a big deal about it? And the driver who is Black Navisian, I saw him just kind of just tense up, like, how could you say that? And I said, how could you say that? I mean, he is a 20th century icon. You go to any corner of the world, any village of the world, they'll know Michael Jackson, but they won't know other artists to the extent that you would know the name and the figure and the talent and the history of Michael Jackson. So so it was really an extraordinary moment. Of course, we have to hold the simultaneously. We also have to hold the tragedy of the violence that surrounds Michael and that history that he was embroiled in. And of course, I'm referring to the charges of sexual violence and abuse that he had to contend with, and again, all of that violent history notwithstanding, he remains an extraordinary artist. An icon in the industry, and that video is really meaningful at that time in 1990. So placing it in a historical, political, social context, it was the time when the U.S. was embarking on in the first Gulf War. It was at the time of yet another, explosion of racialized violence. So, we continue to be reminded of how Black and brown bodies are targeted for state-sponsored violence and police brutality. So at that time, it was Rodney King who, that was the time where the video, documentation by everyday people began and mass circulation, and that video going viral, and then what were known as the LA riots, but in LA people talked about it as the rebellions. We were coming out of that that situation. So Amma and I were there when that happened, and there was the lockdown of the city, and the National Guard came in, and it reminded us of Sri Lanka, actually, that we had to go through military checkpoints in order to go to the grocery store. So that video was talking about the division and the violence that comes out of a segregated, racialized, society that we live in, and police brutality. And there's these images that flow through, with the Ku Klux Klan and the white sheets, and he talks about that in that segment of rap in the video. And then, of course, the controversial section about the Black Panther, where he morphs into the Black Panther and then he morphs out again. And that, that the experiences of internalized violence that we saw in that segment that became really controversial. In fact, some colleagues from UCLA, and also my mentor in musicology, Professor Susan McClary, Rob Walser, we created an academic panel and analyzing this music video at the time, and we presented it at several conferences and symposia. So again, there's the connection between academics and performance, that and that we straddle multiple identities, and it's really beautiful when we find that connection. So those were the realities of the time that I lived through, that Michael was living through, and that as an artist, he himself was an activist to bring these issues to light through popular culture, and through a popular song, to say, it don't matter if you're Black or white, you can be my baby. So to think about transnational, crossing racialized lines. To this day, I teach a course on the anthropology of love, actually, and to this day, I'll ask students, so how, if we were to imagine, who would be the love of our life, who we would fall in love with, and who do we dream about in our desires, to live happily ever after, how, and that ideal love, how is that ideal love of your life racialized? Do you imagine someone outside of your racialized identity? Do you imagine someone outside of your national identity, your religious identity? All these divisions that have created and continue to create wars, both within us, in our most intimate relations, and then, across borders, amongst communities, and then across nations. So he was addressing, all of these issues in that music video at the time, and introducing, the cool morphing technique in music video, and then he was one of the iconic artists who created music video as this amazing phenomenon, like with Thriller. That was an iconic music video. So he really had a great impact, and to be in his presence and to be invited into that project, just is truly an honor and a boon in my life experience.
Thank you, ma'am. That was beautifully said. And it was very nice to know so much in detail about Michael Jackson from a person like you. You've spent time with him, as you said, how he interacted with Amma and how he interacted with you speaks a lot about him. And it's very beautiful to know such things in detail. And as you said, the video was, it was something phenomenal. It was something very unconventional, as you said. He was an activist who spoke through his art, as you were rightly pointing it out. It was such a it threw light about so many things in the world that people, people wantedly not notice. So it was such a beautiful, phenomenal thing. And for you to be a part of such a wonderful video, it's just amazing. And thank you so much to give us so much details about the video and how you became a part about it and how all that went. It was really nice to know that, ma'am. So this is going to be our last question for today. So I would like to say that you've been an academician, you're an artist, you're an activist, and you've done it all. So do you have any advice for youngsters who have multiple interests and want to shine and make a difference and, make a name in all the fields? So do you have any advice, ma'am?
Oh, thank you so much. What an honor to be asked such a question. I think that I'll share and pass on what I learned from my mentors, including my parents and my professors, my teachers. So I'm grateful to my first guru, Guru Subbaya, in Yalpanam, whom I studied Bharatanatyam with. I am thankful to Guru Gangadhar Pradhan, who I studied Odissi with in Orissa. I am thankful to Srimati Aruna Mohanty, who is also a student of Guru Gangadhar Pradhan, and she taught me the techniques and the attitudes and the histories that is embedded in the movement. I'm thankful to Guru Hota, who taught me Odissi classical music, and I'm thankful to Susan McClary and David Damschroeder and Professor Alexander Brzezinski. So Dr. Damschroeder, Dr. Brzezinski, Dr. McClary, these were, really instrumental professors in my undergraduate studies. So, that they set the stage. And then, of course, my parents, they instilled our grounding in our Tamil identity, in language, in our spiritual heritage, and a politically engaged practice of identity making that allowed us to cross all these national borders, continue to do so. Amma and Daddy always taught us, remember from whence we came. James Baldwin, who is an African-American extraordinary philosopher and writer, talks about this as well. Many writers talk about this. Audre Lorde talks about this. Bell Hooks, these are Black feminist writers. Sarah Ahmed talks about this. And Sarah Ahmed is another, academic who's also a transnational. So what I'm trying to say is the advice that I would share is, one, know from whence we came, know your heritage, your history, all of the struggles, all of the celebrations, all the joys, all the beauty of that history, but also the struggles, the pain, and the violence of that history. We hold all of this. Our ancestors held all of this, and learn and be aware of our ancestors, especially as young people. Learn from your elders and that are in your family and in your extended family. That knowledge will ground us and carry us forth. Those talents that we receive from our ancestors are it's soaked in our being, and that will shine. that's one, is to be connected and rooted and grounded in our multiple identities. Be connected to our ancestors, carry both the beauty and the pain and the struggle and the joy. One. Secondly, we a lot of the times in a capitalist neoliberal economy that is shaping our culture in many ways, we come into this idea that competition, that we have to compete in order to win. But in fact, what I've come to learn is that collaboration is how we win. So that when others succeed, we succeed. When others shine, we shine. When we shine, others shine. So when we think about competition, and this is something that my parents did instill in me, don't be looking sideways to compete, but compete against yourself always. That's your greatest competition, is against yourself. How will I advance from and evolve from the person that I was yesterday and the day before, and so on. And when the fear and anxiety show up, how do we transform that fear into focusing on our work, our practice? How do we take that anxiety and turn it into the beautiful compost of action, taking action in every field? And then think, from an activist mode, when we share our talents to advance and uplift a community that is that we are a part of and that is struggling, not just simply to accumulate wealth and accumulate more and more privilege and accumulate more and more authority and power, but then if we are blessed with that, and when we are blessed with that, how do we then leverage that privilege to advance and uplift others to the best of our capacity? The human ego gets in the way, and so it gets carried away, and it derails us at times. But then we surround ourselves with loving people who remind us of our ego, and who give us that sharp critique. And instead of getting all offended, we can say, "Hey, thanks for checking my ego." And then remember that there are these flashing, amazing moments of recognition and high praise and beauty, which is great. But really behind that is hours and hours and thousands upon hours of doing the daily grinding work of practice, whether it's practicing scales on the piano or practicing one segment of movement over and over again until we master a turn, until we master an expression, or until we master a sentence on a page. Recently I've come into the field of avant-garde poetics by an extraordinary poet and scholar, Kristen Preveley, who's opened the door to poetics in my life and as a writer. And in that process, we experience so much doubt and distress in that daily grind. We doubt our ability to complete a project, or arrive at the goal, or what we set a standard of excellence for ourselves to succeed. And so when that doubt arises, again, we can call on our ancestors to guide us. We can transform that fear and that doubt into focus and action in the actual work. So have trust and faith and absolute grounding and confidence in your ability to focus on your work, in your lane, and to polish the talents through that everyday practice, which most of the time can be really tedious and really boring. But then it starts to, every time we sit down to practice, whether it's an instrument or whether it's a movement and dance, or whether it's writing, or whether it's writing a code in engineering and mathematics or computer science, we're all a work in progress, isn't it? And in those moments of progress, we'll find these flashes of insight where all the stars align and we are able to shine with our talents. And we are able to do that when we know that we are actually participating in a practice that is bringing social justice and peace and beauty into the world.
Thank you, ma'am. That is truly valuable and very enlightening for all of us. And thank you so much for answering all my questions patiently. It was so sweet of you to do that. And we really enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time as well.
I had a fantastic time. Your questions are amazing, and they invited me to journey with you into all these moments in remembering and also honoring many people who have brought me to the place that I am today. I guess that's one more thing that I would add is to always remember and acknowledge and continue to honor all the people that have supported us along the way and continue to support us in order for us to shine. Thank you. And you are among them. Thank you so much, Harshita, and your whole team.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
At Festember, I'm really honored to be a part of the Festember celebrations. And again, congratulations to you guys. You guys are practicing exactly what you are, what you've been asking me all along. That these events are in support of organizations that are supporting and uplifting fellow community members who are in positions of disadvantage. We are all connected. And so I'm really, really honored to be a part of your program, the Festember program, that is supporting a variety of local and national organizations in India. I'm really honored. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is our absolute pleasure to have you with us and make you part of this event. And as you said, Festember has partnered with Give India Foundation. And to everyone who's listening, Give India donation link is in the description and the comment section of the video. So do visit the link and contribute whatever you can. So that's going to make a huge difference in someone's life. So please visit the link. And also the feedback form for this session is in the description. And do give in your valuable comments so that we can go through that and improve ourselves in the future. And I would also like to thank our partners, TVS Motors, and our online entertainment partner, Radio Mirchi, and our online listing partner, Noah Fest. So with that, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for tuning in this evening, and good night, and bye.
Why wake up when the world sleeps? Every single day. Why train alone? Why do the same thing? Again and again. lap after lap. Day in, day out. Why jump? Why glide? Why slide? Why fall? Why get back up? Why lose? Why win? Why do it? Because if it gets your heart racing, it's worth doing. TVS Racing, engineering goosebumps since 1982.
Winning is about finding the perfect racing line with your eyes closed. Making split-second decisions based on instinct. CVS Apache RR310 with ride modes and smart connect. Crafted to overcome, crafted to outperform.
My daddy is my best friend. He plays with me all the time. But a while back, he couldn't play with me at all. He was sick. Mama told me, "Don't worry baby, Papa is being cared by the best doctors." Doctor uncle was very sweet. He told me that he was going to give a bigger space in my Papa's heart to love me. The nurses over there made Papa smile all the time. One day, they took Papa to a room. Like in Ben 10, there were very big machines. Mama said that Papa will be back home very soon. And in 2 days, Papa was alright. I love you, Daddy.
Some things in life are beyond value. Love, care, and your heart. Apollo Hospitals. Because your heart is priceless.